It's time to get you caught up with all things sports.
Yes! 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 Yes!
On the throw-in.
One thing is certain. None of this is possible without you, the listeners.
From baseball, football, wrestling, and more, covering local Cincinnati sports, stories, news, and highlights.
Why is he always calling me meat?
With your host, Justin Trento.
When it's all said and done, we're going to look back and remember this is what started it all.
Available on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Let's play the ball! Let's play the ball!
Alrighty, well, what's going on, everyone? A very, very happy Tuesday afternoon, July 25th of 2023. Welcome to another edition of The Throw-In. With me, my name is Justin. We got a couple of sports topics to get to you in the next 2 hours. And hopefully, if everything works correctly and I don't have any complications with my internet or whatnot, then we should be fine here. So I like that screen better. We'll see. All right. So I don't know, yesterday got a chance to jump on, ended up calling Baltimore and Philadelphia's game. That was a nice, interesting game. Low scoring. Philadelphia ends up losing 3-2 in game one. Both teams kind of in the running for postseason. Baltimore has that holds the best record in American League as they lead the AL East. They took 2 of 3 over the weekend against Tampa Bay, and they took care of business against Philadelphia last night. They will be playing a little bit later on here this evening against Philadelphia. A good pitching matchup. If you guys have a chance to check out this game, Baltimore, Philadelphia tonight, first pitch, 6:40 Eastern time. You got Kyle Gibson taking on Taijuan Walker in a pretty nice showdown. But man, I gotta go on and first things, say it first here. The Cincinnati Reds, you just get a bit, you kind of just dread every time they face their own division, especially Milwaukee. And one thing I was thinking of yesterday, during this program and talking about, looking up all the records between Milwaukee and Cincinnati throughout the year. And I know it's been a typical habit throughout the years in the past that just for some reason, Cincinnati cannot get past Milwaukee. And they were going into late into last night's game. Cincinnati had the lead 2-1 thanks to an Ellie De La Cruz home run. For anyone who didn't catch that game, Ellie De La Cruz had a home run attempt back in the early contest. Okay. And you had the center fielder, Weimer, who robbed his home run, had his first at bat. And so coming up on his second at bat, Milwaukee decided to troll Ellie De La Cruz. And so they had on their Titantron, they had a little writing says, almost to hit a moonshot blast to straightaway center, but didn't. So what does Ellie De La Cruz do? He hits a 2-run bomb over the right center field Toyota. I want to say it's a Toyota Tundra up there. One of those vehicles where if you hit the vehicle, you could win the vehicle, whatever the case may be. And he hit it over and practically left the stadium. And I just thought that was pretty hysterical to follow up. But man, they took a tough loss last night. We'll talk about that here in today's program. But we got to get to first and foremost, the number one thing that's coming out of Cincinnati, other than football, which is going to get underway here shortly. And that's going to be the coming up trade deadline, you guys, which is coming up here less than a week. And we're seeing a couple of trades already pile up. First of handful of trades, Atlanta's adding a couple relief pitchers. As yesterday, Atlanta acquired left-handed pitcher Taylor Hearn for Texas, and Texas will receive cash consideration. Atlanta also acquired right-handed pitcher Pierce Johnson from Colorado, and Colorado's grabbing right-handed pitcher Victor Voldrick and right-handed pitcher Tanner Gordon. And I'm just thinking to myself, and we start penciling in, all right, what does Cincinnati need? And a couple of good controllable relief starters, maybe a bullpen session or two out of a trade. But then the bigger question is, and it's the question that we've been asking since the middle of June, is who are you willing to give up? Who are you willing to trade? And the first name that comes to my mind, you guys, is Nick Senzel. Nick Senzel, for me, admittedly didn't really have a season to remember last year. Okay, a matter of fact, it was nail-biting every time. I was like, oh, man, he comes up to bat. Why? Just why? Well, he kind of turned around. I thought maybe Cincinnati, and they still have plenty of time. They have a week to go, and you're going to see a lot of more of the bigger trades, and we've seen this in the past, where trades realistically kind of pile up on the last final days before the trade deadline ends. But the ideal thought was, all right, you're going to play Nick Senzel. Okay, we had Will Myers. You acquired Will Benson during the offseason with TJ Friedel. And we have Jake Fraley, Stuart Fairchild out there in the mix. Okay, Nick Senzel was one of those guys I would potentially put up in the trade block. He would go in, he would get, maybe put up a 240, 250 batting average, maybe hit 4-6 home runs before the deadline, and trade him as a utility guy. Well, that didn't quite he's kind of turned his season around, and he's becoming one of this more reliable guys coming off the bench. And man, one of my old favorite broadcast radio hosts, Coach John Kater, says it himself, you got to have guys coming off the bench, and Nick Senzel fits that role so perfectly that you do ask yourself, as a Cincinnati fan, or if you're Nick Kroll in the front office, you got to ask yourself, who are you willing to trade? And is Nick Senzel one of your guys, or is he one of the key factors that can help your organization come August and September, and possibly an October chance at postseason? So the next guy on my list I would think of in the top of my head would be, Will Benson. Acquiring him, former San Francisco Giant outfielder. I wasn't really expecting a whole lot out of Will Benson, other to be some guy off the bench every now and then. Well, he's kind of coming into his own, and you have not one but two solid players coming off the bench. And oh, by the way, with Nick Senzel coming off the bench, and I'm sure he would like to get the everyday start, but the reason why he's coming off the bench is that you can utilize him. Remember, before he was stuck out there in center field majority of last season, he could play a little bit of third, he could play shortstop, he could even play second base. So he becomes a utility asset to the organization. And you kind of wonder, you kind of start putting the pieces together. Why are you going to trade someone that's not only playing well, but he's a good guy coming off the bench? He could utilize so much in this organization. So then Will Benson was the next guy on my mind. Okay. Then I'm thinking, okay, is there anyone else that we really have to offer? Maybe one of the catchers, Luke Malley, Kurt Casale, they've been up and down. All right. So possibly out of the reach. But I read, yesterday, an article came out saying that, that the Reds are all option for to put up on the trade block the 2019 Rookie of the Year, Jonathan India. And so I think for me, instant result, this is just mind-boggling, because Jonathan India wasn't he one of the centerpieces to this ball club at the beginning of the year that, he was going to be your everyday second baseman, possibly a designated hitter from time to time. And now we're at the last week of the trade block, and Cincinnati's open to negotiations saying, hey, we need, confident, consistent starting pitching. Well, knowing that we're not going to get Hunter Green and Nick Lodolu back until, maybe August, maybe September, the latest, you are asking for a lot when it comes down to these younger pitchers, Brandon Williamson, Andrew Abbott, who will get the nod on the mound tonight, mixed in a Luke Weaver and a Graham Ashcraft. Is that enough to carry your team a whole nother month? We just saw, and let me see where I have it. We just saw Daniel Durante get recalled from AAA, and Levi Stroud gets optioned down to AAA. He's had 4 appearances, 2 of them being starts. He's had a 9.58 ERA, 11 runs, 16 hits, and 8 walks. And so he's going to go back down in the minor leagues to kind of build him back, himself back up. But I'm just thinking to myself, Jonathan India, out of everyone, like I said, I thought he was the centerpiece of this organization. So, okay, so you don't really want to necessarily trade any of the young prospects. You're definitely not touching Ellie De La Cruz, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Matt McLean. You're not touching Andrew Abbott. You're not touching Brandon Williamson. Maybe you get someone down. You're going to probably have to option somebody down in the minor league still that is waiting to be called up. But that's not enough to go get a reliable starting pitcher. And it does hurt. I'm definitely bummed to hear that Cincinnati has an option that Jonathan India could potentially be traded to a different ball club within this coming up week. But let me ask you this now. At what cost does that become a reality? We just saw a handful of pitchers, be traded from the bullpen. And listen, I think that Cincinnati should have themselves a strict profile of what they're looking for. They say controllable starting pitchers. That's what they're claiming that they want. But as we continue watching this trade tracker over this next week, who is enough for Cincinnati to trade Jonathan India? And it makes sense to me. If you think about this for a second, you have Nick Senzel, utility guy. You got you guys established coming off the bench. You have Ellie De La Cruz, Christian Encarnacion Strand, and Matt McLean. That's kind of overstacking that infield. Spencer Steer's comfortable at first. So realistically, you have your essentials, and then you have your outfields. So right now, where does Jonathan India fit? And right now, you can't put Jonathan India in the game without putting a veteran on, one of these hot rookies right now off the bench. But I think the ultimate key thing that we're going to be looking at is who on the Reds organization are the Redlegs willing to give up? And at what cost are they willing to give up? Because for me, Jonathan India is as equalized as to a, Max Scherzer or a Justin Verlander in this retrospect. And so if a package comes together where Jonathan India is on one side of the table, but then you also get a guy like Justin Verlander or a Max Scherzer or a Corbin Burns, and just in the talent wise, they're sitting across the table from Jonathan India. Do you snag that deal because that is a confident, suitable, liable pitcher? And I know, although those are pitchers up there in age, they could still get the job done in August, September, and even in the postseason, which I feel like we have to be playing for October baseball. Are we not? So it's just something to keep in mind. Who are you willing to give up on the Red side to get a reliable starting pitcher, for one? And two, who is Jonathan India worth? And I know as a Reds fan here, we kind of maybe overprice him, right? We like him so much. We're gonna price him to the moon and say that he's untouchable, but he is touchable at some point. So we'll talk about the Reds losing last night. We'll also talk about tonight's game coming up here at 8:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's almost a must win. I don't feel like you should be able to drop another series to Milwaukee, but we'll talk about that. Also tonight in this program for 2 hours, we will be talking a little bit about Raw highlights. I got to talk about Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar. I haven't got a chance to do that quite yet. Judgment Day remained dominant, and Dominic and Maria will open up NXT as the new NXT North American Championship has been defending his new title over the past week. He defended it on SmackDown against Butch. He defended it successfully against Sami Zayn last night on Raw as we approach SummerSlam. And let's not forget this coming up weekend, the Great American Bash and the summer events in WWE. And then we also got some more news coming out of Cincinnati and the Bengals and football as we start grinding. Tomorrow, officially all 32 teams will be at training camp. So a lot exciting stuff going on, and we're just getting underway here on a Tuesday afternoon. If you guys are watching us on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook, or our Twitter, we want to thank you. Be sure to hit that like, share it with a friend, subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. All right. Have those notifications on so you don't miss an episode. Okay. We call baseball games. I called one last night between Baltimore and Philadelphia. Hopefully we'll be calling one later on this week on possibly Thursday. But we like to be calling, sports games as well. If you guys want to get into the chats and I want to hear what you guys have to say and have those conversations with you, head on over to our YouTube page, comment below, and I'll be able to read them and display your comments on what you guys think. If you guys are downloading us and taking us on our audio platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff, thank you. Welcome. Get involved. You guys can head on over to our website today at www.tncsportstalkshow.com. That is www.tncsportstalkshow.com. That is also in the link in the descriptions below. Head over to our webpage and check us out. Always got new stuff posting, blogs, videos, episodes, content, all on that website. You can find everything TNC Sports Talk wise there. All right, we're going to take our first break. Coming back, let's recap the Reds and Brewers game, followed by what's coming up tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Throw-In right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
De La Cruz, fresh off his first day off in some time.
Drives the first one out towards center. Back Weimer, warning track. He will leap and he got it! Joey Weimer takes a homer away from De La Cruz. Perfectly timed jump.
And check out Joey, knows exactly where he is. Yeah, that would have been out.
Christian Yelich has been scorching hot.
Missed outside. He worked him for a walk. How about that?
Here's Contreras. There goes Yelich. And he'll take that one. He could have done it standing.
Yeah, why bother making that throw just for practice? S-Crab not paying any attention to him. He took off.
Line drive base hit. Yelich going to be sent to round third. The Brewers going to have a 1-0 lead.
Walk, stolen base hit by Contreras into right field. I mean, I don't think anybody on the Brewers does this any better than him.
Tyler Stevenson has been catching very well of late.
He wants to hit the ball to right center.
Pulls this left side, smothered backhand. Adames throw on a bounce. Not in time. Stevenson legs it out. He's got a rematch with De La Cruz, who lined to center and was robbed of a game-opening homer by a leaping Joey Weaver. De La Cruz, high fly, deep right center, gone!
That's out of the stadium.
It went over the SUV. It cleared the stands. That ball had a family.
I think De La Cruz just looked into the dugout and said, let him try to rob that one.
456, the estimated distance. Here's Adames, 2-2 pitch. Broken background ball to third. Steer charging. He's going to go to second. It bounces away from McLean and trickles into center field. Up is Contreras. He'll end up at third, and it trickled into center field. And now the Brewers have something cooking with one away, and Sal Frelick coming to the plate.
He goes again. Payoff. Strike three called. Throw down Adames. In a run down. De La Cruz charges at Contreras. Fire to Stevenson. The tag. Out. Double play. A strikeout out. Throw him out at the plate.
And the batter is Sal Frelick, who has bounced into a double play and struck out. And the pitch. Hit to right and deep. Get up! Get up! Get out of here! Gone for Frelick. His first big league home run. He ties the game at 2 apiece.
Someone go get that baseball.
Well, he just golfed it on out of here. Kid's off to a good start, isn't he?
There he is. Winning run is on.
Yeah, with great speed, too.
Well, instead of Weimer, you're going to get Jesse Winker against his former club. Line drive to right, and it is down in front of Fraley. How about Jesse Winker right off the bench, first pitch, and a laser. And now you've got Christian Yelich against Alexis Diaz. Ground ball. Right side base hit. They'll send Perkins. Here comes Fraley. It's over. And the Brew Crew walking off against the Reds.
Oh, man, it was a tough game. Welcome back here on the Throw-In. Hold on 1 second. I had everything kind of still playing here as I get myself organized. All right. So, man, it was a tough game. Game 1 of a 3-game series between Milwaukee and Cincinnati. And, listen, the Reds were in it this entire time. A couple, I think, bloops in the blast, simple errors. One of the key ways I think Cincinnati is going to hold on and be contenders for in September especially is if they're capable of playing simple fundamental baseball. They show that on a daily basis. And for some reason, their luck against Milwaukee just goes a wayside. They put up 2 runs, 6 hits, 1 error allowed. Milwaukee had 3 runs, 7 hits, no errors. So it's just, literally just by 1 additional hit, and this is a completely different ball game. Graham Ashcraft, I think, pitched really well. He pitched in 5 1/3 of an inning, allowing 5 hits, 2 runs to score. He walked 4 batters and allowed 1 home run. Ellie De La Cruz was 1 for 4. He hit that 2-run blast in the 3rd. And then he had a home run and he had that was all for his game line score last night. Some really smart plays by Dela Cruz. He got a chance to got a runner in the pickle or in the early contest, as we heard. He decided to go straight to home, got the out at home, which was a smart idea. So, this is just one of the cases where the luck just doesn't go into your favor. And this is the last series that Reds Milwaukee will see, at least during the regular season this year. And we hope that, hey, tonight Cincinnati comes back out. They have the rubber game series tonight. And we have a really good pitcher on the mound, right-handed pitcher, Andrew Abbott, who will be pitching tonight. He's 5-2 with the 2.10 ERA. He'll go up against Corbin Burns, who's 9-5 with a 3.49 ERA. I think this is going to be one of the better pitching matchups between these two ball clubs, especially with the ERAs and their records on board. And I'm just excited to see what Cincinnati has to bring to the table. Now, you got to remind yourself, if they don't win the series and they don't win tonight, avoiding the sweep, I think, is keen and it's necessary, right? When it comes down to the end of the season, if both of these teams still at top of the food chain, okay, it will go down to who has a better record overall in the division. And this is this is where maybe Milwaukee has the better upper advantage at the moment. But there's still plenty of baseball where something could happen where at the end of the season, Cincinnati could have the better divisional record than Milwaukee. So it's not the end of the world. But if we can't beat a team like Milwaukee, who's been there, done that for past several years, then you make it a bit concerning when we get down into the deep dog days and every game counts. That, all right, we could come up and we could be tied with this ball club, but because they have beaten us in the divisional round, series, playing each other throughout the year, and they have a better record than us, it becomes alarming. Now, the other thing that I'm also maybe more focused on, despite being the last series of the year, is that the upcoming schedule ahead of us. All right, they're going to play 110% each and every game, each and every night, each and every game. They're playing until there are 27 outs and the game is finalized. So it doesn't matter, which is great. I love that about Cincinnati. But when you exert yourself and you don't pick up the equal amount of W's for the effort that you put in, we have to go out to the West Coast and face the Dodgers on the road. I don't know about you, but playing the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium gives me a bit some stress. I tell you that. I'll have gray hair by this weekend. And although I will still feel comfortable, because when Dodgers came into town, we took care of business. I do feel comfortable. Well, when we go out to their home turf, it's a completely different ball game. Okay, this is not Great American Ballpark. We won't have the fan base that we would maybe have at a St. Louis game or a Pittsburgh game. Okay, we're going to be storming by, seas of blue at Dodger Stadium over the weekend. And it's a weekend series. So I'm expecting to have a big crowd. Yes, I would like Cincinnati to come back through and upset the Dodgers at least 2 games out of 1. But these are 2 series that you can easily fall behind on in the division, in the wild card. Okay, as of the playoffs today, if the playoffs would have ended today, Cincinnati has that first wild card seed thanks to sweeping Arizona. But that could quickly change, to be honest, because it's a tight race. And as we hit the end of July and the beginning of August, baseball will be creeping down very quickly. All right, then afterwards, we got to fly out to Wrigley, okay, and all the weather consumptions out there, because they've been dealing with weather 24/7. And we got to take care of the Cubbies. And I love the Cubbies, and I think that the Reds have an opportunity to take care of the Cubbies, but they're also trying to close their gap in the Central itself. So trying not to overexert yourself, I think, is key. Okay? So I guess we'll have to just wait and see where things are at. We talked a little bit about Ellie De La Cruz last night. We talked a little bit about the injuries. Kurt Casale is also placed on the IL list after a left foot contusion. Daniel Duarte is recalled from AAA. He has 14 appearances, 2.77 ERA. He has a 10 out of 9 strikeout to walk ratio within 13 innings. Infielder Kevin Newman was activated from the injured reserve list. He's currently coming back in 6 out of 64 games. He's batting .260. And then Levi Stroud was placed down in AAA. So you have Nick Senzel, Will Benson, and you also have, and I'm seeing, I think I see more Will Benson of a daily starter. I think he shares the responsibility in the outfields between, I don't know if Luke, I don't know if Stuart Fairchild's up or not, but so I do see a little bit of the contentions here, but there are, so you're off the bench is building. So like I said, we go back around to the question, 6 days remaining before the trade deadline ends. Basically, what does that mean is that whatever team we have coming up next week is a team that we're going to depend on, minus injuries and who's on the injured list, are we going to depend on to take us into August and September. And like I said, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to keep on saying, let's go for it. There's no promises of next year. There's no promises of 2025. Let's go for it right here, right now. So game 2 tonight, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, exciting one. And hopefully tomorrow when we come back on, we could be talking about some success. Now, we will expect it to be back on tomorrow in the afternoons, about same time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And according to Cincinnati's schedule, they're in the 3-game series. Tomorrow's rubber game series begins, or hopefully it's a rubber game series, at 2:10 Eastern Standard Time, which means we will be coming onto the air on our channel when they are wrapping up that series. So hopefully when we come back on tomorrow, we'll be talking about a series victory or a 1-2 loss heading into Thursday. We'll have a day off. All right. So let's change our focus a little bit over to football and the Cincinnati Bengals. And not necessarily, we have the open practices that's going to begin tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow night. I'm hoping that I get a chance to go, depending on how the schedule is given out tomorrow during the day. But it's an opportunity if you get a chance to go out to the practice. It's a free practice. It's pay for parking. It's going to be a limited amount of seats, about 1,200 people, seats for the bleachers. Get there early. You got to sign autographs, watch them practice. And I'm hoping to go because they have 10 open practices to the public, additional 4 to the rest of ticket holders and the wait list members. So I'm waiting on, hopefully we'll see about that and how that goes. And if that happens, I'll share with you my experience, but we'll see. But coming up next, I want to talk to you a little bit about the new additions that Paycor Stadium is going to provide you to enhance the performance or the overall fan experience. That's coming up next. You're listening to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Inside your bedroom, we stopped counting the days, lost in the rhythm. Physical silence, no need to speak a word, laying here beside me. The one I live to find.
Alrighty, well, we got to give a big shout out to StreamYard Studios, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. None of this is possible without StreamYard Studios, where you could create podcast videos, host virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Check out their free version today at StreamYard.com. I hope everyone's enjoying their early week here on this Tuesday afternoon. Wherever you guys are at, thank you and welcome back. Well, hey, listen, it is football time as training camp begins here officially tomorrow for all the other teams. And obviously there are players that have showed up to practice early. And we are going to be definitely talking a lot about, what we think, our predictions, this and that, and all that fun stuff, here on the program as weeks to come. Because it's not just about NFL, it's about NCAA football and, Cincinnati Bearcats, who's joining the Big 10 or Big 12, excuse me. But we as fans, whether you're going to the game, whether you're tailgating at the game, whether you're watching it from the living room, this is what we've been waiting for. A lot of people will argue to say that the NFL has too long of a window period of no content of football, and that needs to change. And yeah, you had the SFL, USFL, the XFL, arena football is coming back. And by the way, about arena football, Cincinnati is supposed to host a team during their season when they return, which is, I think, pretty exciting. I didn't really get into arena football, so that's going to be a new dynamic for me. So we are creating more football content, but we're just, those things are still being established and they take many years. And, we could relate that to AEW. It takes some time for the legitimate fan base for one, to get used to the new organization that could come into play. And for two, so a lot of people are just not comfortable watching, the same sport outside the professional four sports of the U.S. When the COVID hit, we had Korean football league or baseball league, that got underway. And it was baseball, although it was in a different language. It was baseball. When we desperately needed baseball and wanted baseball, we resorted to that, or we ended up resorting to the video games, and that didn't quite fill our agreement because it wasn't nothing compared to what Major League Baseball had to offer. For football, on the other hand, I think for a lot of people, for fans who like football in general, they'll tune into an XFL or USFL. And I'm sure you could get, you can see some of your old players that you used to root for that was in the NFL. You can also get ahead of, and kind of see some of the new rules and see how they compare to the NFL. But nothing is originally like the NFL. We talk about that with the WWE, right? You watch AEW because it's new and it's exciting, and you can go, this is where you could go watch Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley and CM Punk and Chris Jericho and see the iconic Sting or the icon Sting. But it's still nothing compared to what WWE has. And although it's growing and it's building business, it's still going to take more and more time to compare it to the WWE to be on the same level if they ever get to that point. So football is an essential. With that being said, when you go out to these games, it is important that you have yourself a really fun fan experience. And you can actually find this on the Bengals website. Bengals invested in Paycor Stadium to create best-in-class game day experience. Now, prior to this, according to the NFL's league-wide voice of the fan survey, the Bengals ranked in the top 5 in season ticket member satisfaction and game entertainment, with exciting enhancement being added to the season. Now, as I mentioned, okay, This is an article that you can find on the Bengals website. So I encourage you. It was actually posted this morning, 10 a.m. So about the new exciting things that you can expect to see when you head out to Paycor Stadium that can include this, the fan, enhance the fan experience. Now, for me, I wish I could go to Paycor Stadium, and that's going to be a plan and a dream of mine at some point down the future. More than likely not this year. The problem I have with NFL games, the last NFL game I went to was at Qualcomm Stadium with my father to watch a preseason football match between the Chargers and the 49ers. That was probably definitely over a decade ago. And yes, I would love to get to a football game, but I think I have to build myself up. I'll go to a couple high school games this year, build myself up to a couple college games because of Bearcats, and then move our way to Paycor Stadium. But when you go to Paycor Stadium this year, let me tell you this. Let's talk about what they have coming to the jungle. Fans will notice a vibrancy of the jungle and Cincinnati City theme throughout Paycor Stadium, highlighted by new banners welcoming fans at Gate A and 2 re-imaged bars on the east and west sidelines. Upgrade concession stands and enhanced self-service express market have been strategically placed throughout the stadium to reduce lines and increase speed of service, which is always good. I think if you go to any venue, I go down to Heritage Bank, their lines move. But sometimes you go to Great American Ballpark and they have different options, but the lines don't quite move. Tune in this fall from the Jungle, Bengals All Access, a new 30-minute documentary show for a behind-the-scenes look at an exciting transformation taking place throughout Paycor Stadium in time for the home opener against Baltimore on Sunday, September 17th. Fans may purchase tickets for all home games at Bengals.com/tickets or by calling Bengals Fans Relations at 513-621-8383. All right, so here's some experiences. Elevated fan experiences, new banners, graphics, and murals will be installed throughout Paycor Stadium to add the energy and excitement, which is great. Paycor Stadium will introduce an all-new East Sideline destination bar, providing fans with a welcoming social hub to enjoy drinks and connect with fellow Bengal fans, which is going to be great add-on here. New video board features, entirely new LED interface will wrap around and the lower stadium bowl, creating an opportunity of showcase engaging content of game day because there's a lot of downtime. Upgrade concessions. The Bengals and Jungle Hospitality, powered by Aramark Sports and Entertainment, premier food and beverage provider, are elevating the fans' experience through an enticing selection of new offerings. It's a fresh look and feel across all concession stands with the focus of game day favorites such as chicken, burgers, chili, and barbecue concepts. Fans can now enjoy Skyline, Coney's, and concession stands throughout Paycor Stadium. So Paycor, Skyline, think of your Coney's and get them, while they're available. There will be 2 additional Tenders Love and TLC locations, Tender Love and Chicken locations, with additional chicken tenders and burger options exclusively available on the club level. Smoke and Sizzle is an all new barbecue concept that will captivate fans with its authentic smokehouse flavors. Driving speed of service and convenience. The Bengals add 78 self-service kiosks, 7 new self-orders and pickup locations at 14 grab-and-go stands like the Go Route, strategically placed throughout the stadium to reduce lines and ensure fans to get back into the game as fast as possible. All right, so right then and there, and I'm not going to spend too much time trying to break this stuff down. Let's get the information out there. But right then and there, we're talking about concession stands, speedy service, more kiosk options, grab and go, so that fans can get back to their seats as soon as possible. All right, Paycor Stadium upgrades rendering. All right, let's keep on going through. We have the sideline bar. I saw that. I thought that was great. And I was just looking at some of the pictures that they have, and I think they're pretty cool, at least the concept of it. What I saw that was noticeable, okay, here is a great concessions, blah, blah, blah. All right, so they just have a list of photos down underneath the article. I saw media day set locations, fan experience. You could so it's like a jungle set. You know how the Bengals post pictures of them in uniform in the jungle. They'll get a chance to fans get a chance to also do something similar like that, which will be fantastic. Also, a mural of the tiger as well. Overall, I think it's a good essential. I saw the new digital board around the build, around the arena, stadium, which can help, wherever you're sit at. The goal is wherever you sit at, you want to be able, if you can't see it, you want to be able to see a Titantron. And if not, you want to be able to see stuff at the digital board that goes around the stadium. So I encourage you guys to check that out at the stadiums this year. Let me know how you feel about how everything is given through. Cincinnati themed mural created by a local Cincinnati artist will be in the main. Okay, so here, let me read this. This is the elevated fan experience. New banners, graphics, and murals. Paycor said added to the energy. Paycor will introduce a new east sideline. That we'll talk about that already. A mural at the sideline East Stadium. So fans will feel like they are in the jungle when walking through the west side of the stadium, which is probably key and important. And the west sideline will feature the Jungle Bar, a complete re-image of the Queen City Tap House. Canopy crazies can visit the perch for grab-and-go drinks and other sides at the stadium. The media day set will be a can't-miss photo opportunity. That's the big thing that really caught my eye in all of this. Fans can take photos on the same jungle themed set used by Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and all the Bengals players featured in game day hype videos. New video boards. Okay, that was the new video boards, and I think we've already read it into all that other good stuff. The interactive map on the Bengals app will enhance ease of navigation throughout Paycor Stadium for fans, ensuring seamless and convenient wayfinding with step-by-step directions to seats, concessions, and more. New video boards featuring entire new LED interface will wrap around the upper and lower stadium bowls, creating more opportunities to showcase engaging content on game day. So there you go. Like I said, you can find all of that information on the Bengals website. And if you guys are headed out to the Bengals a home game for the Cincinnati this year, I strictly encourage you to check it out. Let me know what you guys think and get back to me. Definitely has motivated me, inspired me a bit to say, all right, if I could get a chance to get to Paycor Stadium, I would this year. Because it is all about the fans' interactions. And a stadium's they need it. When you go out to a baseball game, and I've seen this, you go out to Great American Ballpark, they have things that you can do during the games. You may not be able to, watch the games the only thing I don't like about Great American Ballpark, and this is just me, it's not saying that they're terrible about it, because I think they do have it, but it's not to where it's suitable. I like to be able to walk around the stadium wherever I'm go. So if you've ever been to Great American Ballpark, obviously you see the field and you could watch the game. But when you're in the bathroom, all right, wherever I go at the stadium, I don't want to be able to miss a part of the game whatsoever. So and I'm going to refer this back to Petco Park, because this is the stadium I've been to that I think does a tremendous amount of job, succeeding at giving everyone the in-game sense wherever you're at in the ballpark. So whether you are behind the right field wall, under, walking down those ramps, or if you're at Park in the Park, you could hear the broadcast of the Mud Grand and and them, and then you just wherever you're at, even if you're in the bathroom. If you're in the bathroom, you have the radio option with Jesse Aguilar and Tony Gwynn Jr. And if you're in line for a concession stands, yeah, they have those TVs, but for Great American Ballpark, if you're out there on the right field side and the sun's setting, there's a lot of glare, and you don't necessarily know what's going on. And I did hear there's a part where you can hear, you can hear a little bit of it, but it's not, okay, where you keep yourself informed throughout the game unless you're watching it. It becomes a distraction because your eyes are taken off the screen or off the where you're walking to. So I wish that Great American Ballpark had that. I want to be able to go anywhere in the ballpark, even outside, and have the opportunity of listening to the game pre-game, during the game, post-game. I think that's important, essential. The next thing is that what's great about Great American Ballpark, they have kids interaction. So they have like a mini little ballpark in between, out there on the right field side when you walk in next to the museum where kids can go play. I like that. I think a lot of stadiums are now implementing that into their stadiums. They also have an upper level area where they can go play. So something for adults, something for kids. And I think Great American Ballpark works so well. Now, I haven't been to Paycor Stadium quite yet, but football stadiums are starting to create those type of experience. And to see that, and I think what's great is to see that Paycor Stadium is such a great stadium right now in the top 5. I think that's tremendous. All right. So our number 1 is behind us. We talked about that. So we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about baseball, maybe in hour number 2. I want to get to the recap of Monday Night Raw, a couple of different storylines. We'll talk about some football as the importance of the Giants and the Jets. We had this conversation last year, and I want to have it again this year. Especially after Saquon Barkley, who signed a 1-year deal with the Giants. And that's been a off-season controversy. NBA news, a couple of saddened NBA news, NBA news that reached its richest, known for the richest in league history, new contract signing by Jaylen Brown. But to come back, let's talk about Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar. Got a segment coming up for you guys on that. That is to kick off hour number 2. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Right here on Throwin' on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me.
So we've all seen the clip. Brock Lesnar beating me up. Brock Lesnar beating me up with a chair. Brock Lesnar beating me up with a chair in front of my mother. Admittedly, didn't have that on my bucket list for 2023. But am I surprised? No. Color me impressed. I stand impressed. Remember, we're talking about Brock Lesnar. You want to know who wasn't impressed? My mother, Michelle Runnels. She wasn't impressed. You got to remember, this is the same lady who watched Terry Funk throw fireballs at my dad's face. My mother, she knew what I'm about to tell you, and that's Brock, you made a mistake. And the mistake wasn't beating me up in front of my loved ones, taunting me in front of my family. The mistake was you left me breathing.
Yes, indeed.
So now, Brock Lesnar, I don't want to go to SummerSlam just to win the rubber match. I want to go to SummerSlam to embarrass you, Brock Lesnar.
Oh, really?
And I know there's a whole bunch of people backstage freaking out because I just said I'm going to embarrass Brock Lesnar. Oh, here he is. Cody's poking the bear. He's poking the bear. I am not poking the bear. I'm slapping the bear across the face and saying, come and get it.
Oh, snap.
Brock Lesnar, I don't want to just beat you at SummerSlam because of the positive ramifications it would have on my career and my livelihood. I don't want to just beat you at SummerSlam because you made it personal when you broke my arm. I want to beat you at SummerSlam because it's what you deserve. And when I'm old and I'm gray and I'm sitting back smoking a Fuente 858 and I look at the chapter that says Brock Lesnar, I will know it wasn't pretty, but I pinned the final paragraph to that chapter at SummerSlam, Brock. I end this.
Alrighty. So enough said there. I'm going to leave it as that. Let me get back onto my screen. And nice promo by Cody Rhodes. We are less than 2 weeks, actually a week from this Saturday to be precise, for SummerSlam, August 5th in Detroit. Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, for the third time, what they would consider rubber match series. Okay. Cody Rhodes win 1, Brock Lesnar's won 1. Someone has to come out on top. And at this point, let's all remember what this feud ultimately, I mean, realistically, we don't even know why Brock Lesnar decided to turn against Cody Rhodes to begin with. I still don't have that clear image painted in my mind. I'm assuming because Cody Rhodes is in that spotlight. I'm assuming it's because Cody Rhodes has gotten the opportunity and maybe Brock was a bit jealous. But I don't know. I mean, if someone else knows there and it was said and I just blankly learned about it, then please tell me. But this has been a story since the night after WrestleMania, where Brock was initially going to team up with Cody Rhodes to face on Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa to give Cody Rhodes another title opportunity if Cody Rhodes won. And that was the stipulation. If Cody Rhodes lost, then as long as Roman Reigns is the Universal Champion, that Cody Rhodes cannot challenge Roman Reigns for that title. Brock Lesnar ends up turning on Cody, and I believe before the match even started, or once the match started, whatever, and they ended up having a singles match at Backlash, where I believe Cody Rhodes won. And then we ended up having a match, and then basically you upset Brock, which then led to a second match that you ended up breaking Cody's arm, quote unquote. Was it at Night of Champions, right? And then now we're having this third match at SummerSlam. And all of this is to move the direction and the focus point of Cody Rhodes' story down the road while we wait to see him, because I think obviously the end game to this entire story is that Cody Rhodes has to go through, work his way through, and earn himself a championship match to face Roman Reigns again. Once that happens, he will go on to beat Roman Reigns and become new Universal Champion. Brock Lesnar is one of those pillars that he has to knock down. And he has to knock down because Brock Lesnar has been a big part of Roman Reigns' story and the reason why he's been champion for so long. Brock Lesnar is that epitome. So it's turned personal, which is a good news because you've been able to create a story that moves Cody Rhodes, that distracts Cody Rhodes from the ultimate achievement. You've also moved the storyline away from that ultimate achievement to a different path that you can work with. And I think what's so great about this type of feud is that nothing much needs to be said. I mean, I know Cody Rhodes comes out every other week or so and says something about Brock, and then Brock returns in the favor a week or two later. But you don't need to overbuild this. There's nothing really much that needs to be said. Nothing, you've done your personal stuff in the middle of this entire story, and you've had your feud attacks, and it's like less words, more action. Now, I don't know the future of Brock Lesnar, but if he is to be out the door here shortly, this has turned into a nice feud that WWE's taken advantage of. For one, to keep Brock Lesnar occupied and utilize his appearances, and yet it keeps Cody Rhodes going. But then, so for me, and a quick SummerSlam spoiler, I get the sense that Cody Rhodes comes out. He, moving forward in this feud, Cody Rhodes comes out. So I start thinking for myself ahead at what could be the next direction, and a couple things could potentially happen. Now, the only reason I would see Cody Rhodes not winning this match at SummerSlam is if we get an outside interference from an unknown figure. And this is me in the creative mindset that I'm in, because after Brock Lesnar goes on and loses to Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar is going to go do whatever he wants to do. Cody Rhodes is then going to have another feud, which means you could either have a feud with anyone in the roster. I'm assuming that you're not going to try to have Cody Rhodes tackle on Seth Rollins because they're keeping them so far apart. So then it gives me two options that come to think of that's worth enough that can help build this story of Cody Rhodes getting back to earning a title shot. One, the Fiend's been out for quite some time, and I can see Cody and the Fiend do some magic. I don't know how long that feud would be, but I can definitely see Bray Wyatt have this feud with Cody Rhodes. Plus, I feel like we still need to see a Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor at some point if this is to ever happen. That, for me, that is a present day Kane Undertaker, darkness match, the Demon versus the Fiend that we all wish we can see. If it's not Bray, and there's been rumors about him returning soon, but if it's not Bray, another rumor has it that Randy Orton's also potentially to be returning soon. I don't think you go match him up with Matt Riddle, but Randy Orton will be on Raw, and if he cost Cody Rhodes the third match against Brock Lesnar could walk out on top of this feud, which, not knowing when his next match is going to be, if there's another match for Brock in the WWE, could be a good thing for Brock. It can also mean that it also will spark a Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes that you can land into the feud heading into SummerSlam in a couple months, potentially into the beginning of next year. So, hypothetically speaking, you have a couple of directions that you could go down with between Cody and between Brock. That's why this feud, like I said, short said, it's been a lot of fight, less talking, and you keep the mic on the person that can talk well. And Cody Rhodes has definitely cut really good promos again in this feud. He's had another one last night on Raw. So it's going to come up to be a really good match, and I'm really liking this match for SummerSlam so far. You know what I'm also enjoying the most? Talked a lot about this yesterday, is the Judgment Day's dominance lately of the WWE. Last night, the Judgment Day is out running WWE, without a care, like they should be. The only big thing that was happening last night was the contract signing between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor for that World Heavyweight Championship that's supposed to be defended at SummerSlam. Well, somewhere down the line, Kevin Owens apparently has suffered a rib injury. And I don't know how much to the tail of the take is that accurate or not, or if that's just part of the play. But lately, Judgment Day's been after not only Finn Balor, but Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So last night, Sami Zayn challenged Dominic Mysterio for the NXT North American Championship on Raw. Now, let's remind you that Dominic won that match, won the NXT North American Championship back at NXT last week, beating Wesley. Then he defends that title successfully on Friday Night SmackDown against Butch. And now he's defending it last night successfully against Sami Zayn. Well, it doesn't end there. We get down to the contract signing, which is the main event of the show. And it was a simple contract signing, and I think it was too predictable, knowing that the Judgment Day was going to be at ringside trapping Seth Rollins. And you know what? Seth Rollins is not going out without a fight. Sami Zayn tries to help Seth Rollins, comes to an aid, which can only potentially lead up to maybe a tag match, maybe a 6-man match next week on Raw, the go-home Raw before SummerSlam. But ultimately, Judgment Day once again leaves Monday Night Raw off camera, dominating Monday Night Raw, WWE in general. And so now we head into NXT, which is going to be tonight and kicking off in just about 45 minutes from now. Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley will be in the ring of NXT at the Performance Center to kick off the show to address the NXT fans. And so, it's better late than never, but the Judgment Day, has been trying to gain momentum and build and to grow and to surface, the new frame. And I think you needed the bloodline to kind of collapse in order for the Judgment Day to rise to power, right? It's finally holding. And I sure hope it's not a, short-lived, rise of fame, but everyone except for Finn Balor, who will get an opportunity at SummerSlam to win some gold himself, is in a process of having success. But it still lurks in the back of my mind that Damian Priest, has the Money in the Bank briefcase, and every time Damian sees an opportunity, he has that urging look on his face. And last night, you just couldn't help that Finn Balor is a bit concerned about what Damian's going to do if, at some point, possibly at SummerSlam, or if Finn Balor goes on to win that World Heavyweight Championship. Now, a side note before we take a break here, Rhea Ripley earlier last night viciously attacked Liv Morgan. They were scheduled to have a one-on-one match, but Rhea Ripley viciously attacked Liv Morgan, stomping a chair onto her arm. And at this point, there's been some rumors around that I just kind of got myself caught up on reading that Liv Morgan has sustained a shoulder injury and has been written off of television for quite some time. I know an old friend of mine came to me and said, hey, we're looking at Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez for that, women's, WWE, women's world championship match at SummerSlam. Now there is a cause for this title match to take place. Rhea takes out Liv. Raquel wants payback, and what other way to do it? And whatever injury, I know, I read that Liv is dealing with the shoulder injury. So whatever is going on, I hope she has a speedy recovery and that she's okay. But now, if it is true, that means Raquel Rodriguez is going to be given an opportunity to have a singles career in the meantime. And she's kind of been strained since her appearance in the WWE in the tag team division, which is fine because it helps an athlete to build themselves over time. But now we're going to see Raquel Rodriguez have a singles run, and her first major opponent is going to be Rhea Ripley. Now we're going to come back to Rhea Ripley on another day and talk to her because talked about her because she has, this is a long time waiting for her winning the championship, and she goes on and she hasn't really had any tough opponents. And, when I say tough opponents, Raquel Rodriguez is a legit opponent for Rhea Ripley. But I'm also throwing in, I'm talking about real eye-catcher opponents, in my opinion, is Ronda and Shayna. And now since they're separated and they're going to have a match at SummerSlam, those are eye-catching. I hope down the road we could potentially see Shayna and Rhea, or whatever the case may be, and whatever future Ronda has down the road. Rhea, it's also for, I just feel like Rhea has not really had a true testament quite yet in the last, 3-4 months of a true opponent that can give her an ultimate challenge, in my opinion. All right, we're going to come back to wrestling at the bottom of the hour. Coming up next, we're going to talk about this massive megastar contract in the NBA. And this probably says a lot about the direction and the chances that Boston has as the Throne returns here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Looking back at the good times before it all went down, climbed right up on the hillside, a different view of my life. You left me running on and on, but I don't care, would you let me
Alrighty, hour number 2 of the program is given to you thanks to Spreaker from iHeartRadio. Spreaker, where you can upload your own very personal podcast. Upload your podcast, be able to see analytics, and be able to monetize your podcast, all thanks to Spreaker, the audio platform for the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. You'll be able to upload on all major playlists such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Check out their free version today at Spreaker.com. All right, so I'm going to kick things off with some not so great news, as we would like to wish the very well speedy recovery of LeBron James' son, Bronny James, who suffered a cardiac arrest yesterday on the USC court. LeBron James' son, he was rushed to the hospital. He is stable out of the ICU. He's doing much better. But man, this is a kid who we're expected to be seeing at the NBA level in about 2025. And LeBron James is eager to sit back and wait until his son Bronny makes it to the NBA and try to play with his son. And I think that would be a tremendous thing, being able to play with your own child. And hopefully this event hasn't really given Bronny any setbacks into making that happen. But health comes first when it comes down to these sports. We talked about DeMar Hamlin earlier this year. We've seen athletes who have taken personal time away for mental purposes. And, I don't think, I would never forget DeMar Hamlin's situation. I would even remember talking about that game, getting ready for that game, on the program. And then that all of a sudden that happened. And I was like, oh, how do you technically cover that type of story? And then now you talk about a 17-year-old kid or youngster, who really has not even gotten a chance to do much, so far in his career. So we wish the James family the best of luck. Bronny, prayers going out to them for a speedy recovery, and hopefully, like I said, doesn't make a big effect. It doesn't have a big effect into his career. We talk about the trade deadline that's coming up, and breaking off of CBSSports.com. Dodgers are reunited with utility infielder Kike Hernandez, as it was just signed that Kike Hernandez going back to the Dodgers, as Dodgers will receive not only him, but on top of that, a $2.5 million cash consideration and the Red Sox will receive right-handed pitcher Nick Robertson and right-handed pitcher Justin Hagenman, if I said that correctly. Well, the Dodgers are trying to find some key guys off of that utility bench, reuniting with LA. Hernandez is 31 years old. Is no stranger to the Dodgers organization. He spent 6 years with Los Angeles prior to leaving in free agency after 2020. Hernandez enjoying a breakout effort in 2021, but since has struggled over the last 2 years. Over the last 725 trips to the plate, he's batted .222 with 12 home runs, 76 RBIs, and just 3 stolen bases. So hopefully either A, he turns himself around in Los Angeles, or he's just utilizing to be a backup. All right, talking about some major contracts here. Breaking news, Chargers and Justin Herbert, quarterback for the Chargers, have agreed to a $262.5 million mega dollar extension. Herbert is now one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. There is no doubt that Herbert was going to be the quarterback for the Chargers in a long, extensive time. But waiting for the deal and what number is that priced at? And I think a lot of these contract extensions, these big lockups, we're honestly waiting to see how Lamar Jackson fell under pressure there. Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert has reached to an agreement on a 5-year, $262.5 million extension that ties the quarterback to the franchise through the 2029 season. According to the NFL media, Herbert became eligible for an extension this offseason after having 2 years remaining on his rookie contract, including the 5th-year option LA picked up last offseason. So now Los Angeles and the Chargers have themselves a nice quarterback, and I think he's a good quarterback. I think Chargers are only growing some more, and they're making a type run. Yesterday when I was ranking them, they were in my top 5, I believe. So it was only about time. He probably does deserve it. Now it's time for the Chargers. I think the biggest concern after Los Angeles now is trying to contend against Patrick Mahomes and those Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like, I know Jimmy Garoppolo is signed with Las Vegas and the Raiders, and I think that the Raiders could be contenders in the playoffs over the next year or two, given that Garoppolo stays healthy, and that's going to be a big if. And I'm not going to go with how terrible, Denver was and, Russell Wilson was last year. I'm not putting my bottom dollar that they're going to improve too much this year. And then the AFC West is one of the tough divisions in the AFC. Although I still think that the North is tougher, but man, now you just have that locked in set. Talking about football and contracts, Cowboys Trayvon Diggs signs an extension for reported of $97 million over 5 years with max value of $104 million. Man, Trayvon Diggs, who was drafted in the 2nd round of the 2020 NFL draft. Dallas Cowboys are back in Oxnard, California for the start of the training camp. And as the team is setting the foundation for the 2023 season, they've also locked down their star defender for the foreseeable future. Cornerback Trayvon Diggs has signed an extension to the team. Announced Tuesday the deal is 5 years and worth $97 million, according to NFL media. This deal has a reported max value of $104 million and makes Diggs, who was entering his final year of his rookie deal, one of the highest paid cornerbacks in NFL. Now, gosh. Now, is there any pressure for Dallas fans that the Cowboys need to have success in actually winning? Right now, a lot of people, ESPN, Sports Center, they're placing Philadelphia still on top. And I know when it comes down to Dallas, there's expectation of winning, and we've seen Dallas Cowboys win for the most part. But when you start, after so long, only going to the playoffs and coming up short year after year after year, don't you figure that it's about time to win? How much longer do you remain on Dak Prescott if your team can't get over the postseason hump? Or I guess, are we satisfied enough with that postseason run and that you just settled to go into the postseason? And as long as you go to playoffs every year, then you're okay. And so for me, in this purpose here, great defensive cornerback. You have a cornerback, you tied him up to a long extension, high and paying cornerback. That's great. Now I need to see production. And the NFC East, for me, is probably going to be one of the most contending and compelling divisions already coming up in this upcoming season. All right, let me see what else is here to talk about before we get into the NBA news here. That's pretty much it for now. Whereas we'll keep an eye on the trade block here. 6 days remaining as well. Boston Celtics, though, in the NBA news, contract extension yet again, but this time for Jaylen Brown, who signs a $304 million supermax for the richest deal in NBA history. Brown becomes eligible for extension by earning all NBA honors this season. He has agreed to a 5-year, $304 million supermax dollar extension with the Boston Celtics, according to Shams Charania. The deal was the richest in history. It's fully guaranteed, and it includes a trade kicker, but the final year will not include a 5th-year option. So let me put it this way. That's an average about $60 million, and they broke it down here on CBS Sports. It's an average of $60.7 million a year that's fully guaranteed. And the kicker is that it only gets bigger. So this year, this coming up season, 24-25, he will maybe make it about $52 million. And then by season 28-29, in 5 years, he'll be making $69, close to $70 million. Wow. Now, what does that mean? Listen, we talk a little bit about the Celtics, not so much on this program, but let me tell you something. They made a nice run in the postseason. But see, what got to them and what didn't get them over the edge this year is that they put themselves in a position, okay? They put themselves in a position in each series that they played where they went to Game 7 forcefully. They would get up to a 2-1, 3-1 lead, have to come back down to a Game 7. And when you're a top team, think about the 2 top teams in that league, in that conference, Milwaukee and Boston. And, I think you are the pencil stick, that top pillar to stand for that, for the NBA. I think Boston's a really good team. But they have to be able to overcome their battles in games and series that they should easily win. They should have been in the NBA Finals, no questions asked. But when you really force yourself, and you can't go cruise through an NBA season with ease, have no worries or concerns as is, go into the playoffs, and then take your every series to Game 7 or to Game 5, however long it is, with the lead. It puts too much stress. You get exhausted. You get winded, and I think that's what ended up happening. With this mega deal contract, you have to win. Boston has basically went out there and said, hey, Jaylen Brown, you have to go out there and win now for Boston within the next 5 years. And honestly, he doesn't have that long of a time. I think Boston has another 2-3 years. I know that, listen, they're going to stay at the top of the division for quite some time, but their winning window is next 2 to 3 years. If you don't see them win, I really doubt that they're going to be winning in year 4 and year 5, especially on his contract extension. Especially how we've seen players from time and time again, they get into these extensions, they wait 2 or 3 years, and they see these markets go up higher, and then they go demand trade and they go demand. And Jaylen Brown can sit there and say, "Oh, well, I'm going to be loyal to Boston for 5 years." There's no promises. I can't promise you that, my friend. I've seen other talent go in there and make such a big hissy fit that they go on and they get what they want at the end of the day. But man, some big contracts laid out this afternoon. Let's take our last break of the program. And when we come on back, let's get you guys ready for NXT. A couple things going up. We'll talk more about WWE. Let me see a story that we have. Becky Lynch actually defeats Zoe Starks last night to earn her rematch with Trish Stratus at SummerSlam, not WrestleMania. Excuse me. We'll talk a little bit about that or whatever it decides to pop up. Bottom of the program coming up next. You guys are listening to The Throwing on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. What's going on, everyone? Justin here from the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to you, the listeners. That's right. Without you guys, none of this is possible. I would also like to take the time and invite you out to our merchandise page, thanks to T Public. Our merchandise page is where you can find all of our brandings from the Throwing, which is currently active weekly, to the TNC Sports Talk official brands, to either the prior shows that was part of the TNC Sports Talk Foundation. Now, within all the brandings, you can select T-shirts in both men and female sizes, apparel such as hoodies, kids onesies, kids T-shirts, phone cases, notebooks, coffee mugs. They have a vast majority. This is why I love T Public. And right now, if you spend $80 or more, you get free shipping. And so we want to invite you out to our merchandise page by heading on over to tpublic.com/user/TNC-sports-talk, or even using the QR code up in the right-hand corner. We want to thank you guys again, the listeners, for supporting us, and we hope to see you guys out wearing our merchandise. Alrighty, we want to go ahead and give a big shout out to Canva for providing the video packages for our breaks and the intro to our show. You create presentation, flyers, social media ads, and more. Check out what they have to offer at canva.com. Also like to give a big shout out to Epidemic Sound. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. Alrighty, wrapping up a show on a Tuesday afternoon here. And we'll talk a little bit about NXT, some more professional wrestling here right after this quick ad. righty, be sure to check out Steve Barber, Dwaylen Davis at Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. They talk all things professional wrestling wise, from the WWE to AEW, Impact, all news, stories, highlights. Check them out today. They have their own YouTube page. They're also on all audio streaming platforms. You don't want to miss them out. Steve and Dwaylen at Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. Subscribe to them now. All right. So, hey, listen, NXT, I don't know, I'd say about 15 minutes. Okay. And it's going to be an interesting night. As we mentioned earlier to you, Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley will begin the show. Okay. Kick things off after Dominic defeated Wes Lee last week to become the NXT North American Championship. And I talked a little bit about this yesterday, about how I felt about this. And I think a couple of things. One, I heard reports back in April that the WWE had the thought that Dominic needed to go down to NXT to kind of fine-tune some things. And that's what happens, right? You know, for me, he wasn't really getting over that edge. And, you know, I think we have a fan base that has mixed emotions for Dominic Mysterio. We have a fan base that loves the heel character that he's playing, and that, you know, they're behind it, they support it. And because his last name's Mysterio, you know, he needs to be up there. There's also a part of the fan base that I think accepts Dominic and what they're trying to do with him, but still believes that he needs some fine-tuning. And this is where NXT steps in. And it only makes sense for Dominic, as the Judgment Day grow, as Rhea Ripley has a championship, Damian Priest has the Money in the Bank briefcase, Finn Balor has a title opportunity, and the Judgment Day is starting to dominate and rise and control Monday Night Raw, and in this fourth, the WWE. It's only right if Dominic can kind of share the glory. But here's what you're not going to do. You're not going to have Dominic take the Intercontinental title. You're not going to have Dominic take the United States title. It just doesn't make sense. For one, he's not on SmackDown. For two, he is not beating Gunther or Drew McIntyre. Damian Priest, it would be unethical to see Damian Priest cash in that Money in the Bank contract against Gunther or Drew McIntyre. Although having the gold is great, having that backup option can lead into more greatness, leads into some speculation. So what are the other options? He's not on the SmackDown roster. He's not going to beat Gunther or Drew. You have him go down to NXT. Well, there's only so many options down to NXT that Dominic can have success at. The NXT Championship or the NXT North American Championship. And he's definitely not beating Carmelo Hayes, who, you know, I remember him, you know, because I don't follow NXT all that much. So Carmelo Hayes, last time I really saw him going anywhere, he was facing Braun Breaker, and he just got done defeating Braun Breaker for the title. Well, the other person is Wes Lee. Now, Wes Lee's had that title for quite some time. And yes, I would agree saying that is it the right time for Wes Lee to drop that title? I don't know. I don't think so. And would I rather have him drop it to someone on the NXT roster? Of course. But maybe it's also time to see Wes Lee step up and be an upcoming challenge to the NXT champion himself, Carmelo Hayes, who you will also see tonight in a 6-man tag match. He will be teaming up with Trick Williams, also with Ilja Dragunov to take on Shizm. And he said, I can only talk to you so much about it. Cora Jade and Dana Brooke would go one-on-one in a kendo stick match, which is interesting. Now, talking about Dana Brooke. A couple weeks ago, there was some social media heckle to Dana Brooke, and she kind of responded back, which left us some worries that Dana Brooke, quote unquote, sucks as a professional wrestler. Let me tell you guys right now, if she sucks, why is she in WWE to begin with? Okay, and I've seen WWE hire talent because of their past or where they came from or whatever the case may be. But Dana Brooke is one of those athletes who came from the NXT reigns with Charlotte Flair, with Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley, and Becky Lynch. She came up with Carmella, Alexa Bliss, okay? Those thriving women, and she came up to the main roster. And I'm sure that the WWE would not have brought her up if she was not good enough to be on the main roster. I've admitted I've seen WWE talent that aren't so good in the ring. Okay? No disrespect to Omos, but he still does not look like the figure. What have the WWE done with Commander Aziz? They brought him back down to NXT, and that's what they're doing. Hey, if you're not being utilized on the main roster, you're going to go down to NXT where you can work. And you know what? There are females and men and women on that matter who have been wrestling since they were 12 years old. And they're 16, 17, 18-year-old kids in the Performance Center of WWE working their tails off day in and day out. So maybe, according to Dana Brooke, who hasn't had a lot of in-ring time on television, compared to some of these females who are younger, who are getting more of the opportunity. And that's unfortunately how this business works. You're going to give the opportunities to the young females unless you're on the A game right now. Then if not, you're kind of going to be working with them. And maybe right now compared to Dana Brooke, to the rest of the foundation of the women's division, she's not so great. You know what? That's why NXT is there for. You need to grow. The only way you're going to get better is you grow. And this is also the first time in quite some time that we've seen Dana Brooke back out there, on a consistent nightly, weekly basis. So you know what? For those who proclaim that Dana Brooke is terrible at professional wrestling, I just say bye. That's all respectfully in the most polite way. I just say bye, because she has paid her dues. She has competed in some decent matches. She is a woman who's trying to make it in this industry. WWE still believes in her. You know what? I think you have to believe in her too. She's lasted this long. She can last longer. And that's all I say about Dana Brooke in that situation. For anyone who thinks differently on that topic, Becky Lynch goes on and wins her match against Zoe Starks last night and has earned herself a rematch against Trish Stratus. I got a good old friend of mine, former co-host of this show, who called it right after WrestleMania. And I think that this, to include Zoe Starks, who is upcoming, I thought that was pretty special, unique, right? Can't expect Trish Stratus to continue solo. You couldn't expect this feud between Trish and Becky to ride solo. And you even if you included Lita for 3 months between WrestleMania and SummerSlam coming up August 5th, you couldn't depend on two females to tell one story. I mean, we barely took apart Brock and Cody, who took from the night after WrestleMania to SummerSlam for 3 matches. You've only had 1 match between these two females, and Trish got the upper hand, thanks to Zoe Starks. Well, now you're going to get the rematch. What I would like to personally see is Lita somehow, some way, shape, or form, either to come back next Monday night to even the playing field and to take out Zoe Starks, or to show up at SummerSlam to take out Zoe Starks. That's what I would like to see. And I think that would complete this entire fraction story between Becky and Trish. And yes, you have to throw in Zoe and Lita, part of this feud. So remember, this is about who's better. My next thing is that if Becky goes on and wins this match, which I think can do some better for her, I guess we have to ask ourselves, what direction does she go in afterwards? You also got to remember Trish, Becky's one-on-one, so this is now an even squad. You are open at some point down the road. You can see a third and final match between these two females, maybe an official torch passing, or in the dominance or the reign or whatever down the road. But I'm also trying to keep a future open to seeing what happens with Rhea Ripley after SummerSlam, with Becky Lynch after SummerSlam. Who else is worthy enough to be in this title picture at the top of the chain? Because right now SmackDown's dominating it with Asuka, Charlotte, and Bianca Belair. So we still have plenty of more to understand, as, like I said, less than 2 weeks, a week from Saturday, SummerSlam is coming up. But not a bad Raw. I did not watch Raw from start to finish at all. As a matter of fact, I just tuned into some highlights, to be honest, and it was a decent show, I would say the least, for a show heading into SummerSlam, the biggest event of the summer. And I feel like WWE does not throw too much to the wind when it comes to promoting and to advertising and to saying, all right, because WrestleMania, you see advertisements left and right. Well, summer is the biggest summer of the event. I wish that they'd advertisement a bit more. All right, so NXT tonight, we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow. We're expected to be back on tomorrow at 6 p.m. again to give you some thoughts. Expected a bowl game also on Thursday at some point. I don't know which two teams. I'm limited on options. So I will probably let you guys know tomorrow, confirm that with you. We'll talk a little bit more about wrestling, some more football issues, any more breaking news when it comes to down to the for football and for baseball and all that stuff. Like I said, we have the trade deadline, and it's unfortunate because, to be honest, I kind of just feel and believe that the Cincinnati Bengals, and I really hope that they do make some sort of run and get some sort of pitchers or something in that bullpen to help them out for October, August and September. But I got that utter feeling that either we're going to see it at the very last minute, or we don't see it at all, and it may hurt Cincinnati Reds. And I guess time will tell, and we will see what happens. Reds take on Brewers, game 2 coming up at 8 in about 10, 15 minutes from now. So, all righty, that will wrap up our program. I want to thank everyone. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Tune us in tomorrow night, and we will be back with more action. Thank you guys for tuning into the Throw-In right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.